Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchorbaby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchorbaby.
Daddy's home. That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You're the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
What's up, everybody? Oh, dang, we're here, we're doing it. What's up, everybody? American Anchorbaby here, tuning in super late, but we're making it happen, okay? Welcome. Thing is, got caught up, got too excited with Hassan guest hosting, and it made me just, I changed my show, really. Had some stuff to get into. But I went back and watched Joel's, there was all this vulnerability talk, right? All this talk of being vulnerable. And I watched like a good, must have been like 35 minutes of Joel's episode on Monday. Not Monday, what am I saying? Last Tuesday. Which I guess spawned many conversations, and it continued with Hassan's guest hosting today. He had Stacy on, his girlfriend. And so I went back, watched the rest of Joel's episode when I should have been live with you guys. And I wanted to get a full understanding of what Joel was saying, what Hassan was saying and all that. And I wanted to talk about that, really. So that's what's up. Not apologizing. I'm just telling you what's up. And I'm apologizing for being late, I guess. A little bit of that, too. Nick was at his other job, bussing tables. So what have you guys been saying in the chat? Apparently, you guys had a whole show in the chat. Give me your best take here in the chat if we can get into it here. Is it about the vulnerability thing? Because I want to do a little lightweight commentary on this. And let me say, I'm really just adding to it. I really do agree generally with that, with the sense that you don't need to hide. That's something Joel was saying, right? You don't need to hide. Right? They can see it on your face anyways when you're mad, right? You don't need to hide. There's a weakness in that, too. Okay? And I don't disagree, right? That's true. But for me, I put it like this. It's like I'm not trying to prove anything. I don't have to prove that God's working on my life. I don't have to prove that I see anger as evil. And so for me, it comes down to that. Like, are you trying to prove something? If you're not, then be you. Be fine. And so, again, there's this talk about vulnerability, and I think I want to play some of this Hassan guest hosting here and comment on it. Kind of loosey-goosey. I haven't really put together my thoughts here, but let me just say a couple things here. Get into it and see if you guys want to get into it as well. 888-775-3773. The problem with let me say, again, this is adding on to what's been said. If there's disagreement, I'll point it out. But the problem with being vulnerable is that, how do I explain this? Basically, I don't disagree with being someone that's easy to talk to, which is essentially what Hassan and Stacey were talking about, or what Stacey was saying. If you guys didn't catch it, you guys want to go back and watch it. Very, very good. But she was saying that vulnerability is not all emotion. It's not always emotion. And people assume that it's emotional, but vulnerability encompasses many things. And it includes making that space so that the woman can be vulnerable and open. Okay? That's just being easy. That's just being easy to talk to, in my opinion. It's not being vulnerable. That's just being easy to talk to. Okay? AKA, you're not judging. You're not a judgmental person. Okay? So it's not vulnerability. Maybe I'm harping on words here, but it's not vulnerability. Let's get into some of this here. We'll do some live commentary on, for example, this moment that I'm talking about, okay? Bear with me as I collect my thoughts, watch the clip here with you guys, and and as I bumble through this video, clicking through the technical stuff here, and we find the correct moment that I'm commenting on here. Let's see if we can get into this. Okay, Stacey, lovely Stacey with Hassan on the Joel Friday podcast, Joel Friday TV, and and he started it off by playing this clip where Joel's saying that it's very attractive for a woman to just be honest, because then you could deal with it. So true. So Hassan asked Stacey about vulnerability, what she thinks about vulnerability.
Yeah, I like that they're vulnerable.
I just feel like when people think in terms of just vulnerability, they immediately go to emotions. And I just don't necessarily think like vulnerability like just encompasses that area specifically. Like I think it's just a broad range of other things as well. So even in the sense like the way he described it is that like women should be able to be forthcoming with their emotions, what they're feeling, and approaching that with a man. The vulnerability for him in that moment wouldn't be to like, oh, share his emotions too, but it's like that space that you're creating for the woman, right? Like, because I think often like men, because they are more logical, they'll like immediately get into like dismissing the conversation, like it, you know, whatever you're talking.
They'll get immediately into dismissing. Now that's splitting hairs. It's like, oh, when is it dismissing and when is it not right to dismiss? You know, that's probably that's stuff between them. I don't know what she's airing there just between them, but you know, again, it's being easy to talk. It's being easy to talk to. What's vulnerable about that, in my opinion? Like, but check this part out. And I'm nitpicking. Okay, look, I'm adding to the conversation. I like Stacey. I like Hassan a lot. And so check this part out where Hassan asks her if he's vulnerable.
And then also it allows the woman to actually
cooking.
Okay. Chat was apparently saying, why isn't she in the kitchen? And she needs to cover up. Chat is savage.
Well, let me ask you this. Am I vulnerable?
Dang!
How you giving the Jesse laugh?
I love Hassan takes it like a, you know, I think it's later on Joel calls and it's true what he says. They seem natural. Like he does, you know, they know each other and they're not getting mad about what they're saying. No need to get mad at her laugh. But again, guys, when we flip it and you ask a woman, okay, well, would you like to see your man in that same vulnerable state? The vibe changes, okay? And the vibe changes because a woman does not want to see that. The same vulnerability she's describing for herself, she does not want to see in the man, which was not answered, okay, in my opinion here. It wasn't dove into, and it was a question I had. It wasn't answered.
I think we're working through it in terms of it. I think the more conversations that we can have where we're actually sitting down, like, I think there's, I was actually thinking about.
As she never really answers it. But she doesn't, let's be real. she's what she's describing, what Hassan needs to work through or whatever, is something that she dislikes, the vulnerability in the man. Okay, vulnerable man is the least sexy thing, says 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎 in the chat. And what am I describing here? What am I trying to say here? The problem with the vulnerability thing, and I totally agree with not hiding and being fake. The problem is that it takes her eyes off herself, which is what you're doing with your life. You just have your eyes on yourself. And what I want to add to this conversation about vulnerability is that the woman, her being okay in the relationship, her overcoming or anything like that, her or you being a man and her seeing you as a man and all that has literally nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with her opinion. We all hear this. Women can tell a beta. They can sense it, and it's true. But yet, your manhood and all that is not contingent on that at all. She can't set the framework. Do you see what I'm saying here? She can't set the framework. It's not up to her. Because it gives her another reason to judge, well, how is he being a man or not? When she should be paying attention to herself, the way you are paying attention to yourself. Your interactions should be natural, should be play. It should be total play. When you're talking about deep stuff, when you're calling her out, when you're, maybe even when you're at the certain time, right time and place, when you're, describing your weakness, I guess. It should be play. It should be the most natural, play thing. You following me here? And that would be the definition of not trying to prove something. Because it's all play. Like kids. That is the safe space Stacy here is describing. Is you being totally fine. Which is what Joel said, right? But the thing I want to add to this too is that it doesn't matter. Look, she can be Jessie. She could be Jessied out doing this silent prayer. She could be you could have a good one. That's what Joel super chatted on the show about Hassan, about Stacy. You got yourself a good one. She could be one of the good ones. But she will still treat you like a boy if you let her. I want to make that clear. She will treat you like a boy if you allow it. Are you following me here? For example, how do I say this? No, that'd be putting out someone's business. I can't say that. But let me give you an example. Let's see if I can give you. Look, if you allow her to treat you if you act like a boy, she will treat you like a boy. Okay, if you... I wish I could give you an example. So that's kind of what I wanted to add to it. Because, walk me through it. Walk me through it. Let's say let's say she sees some anger in you. Let's say she sees an angry face or something. And she assumes that it's anger. And she asks you about it. And you say, are you mad? And you say, yes, I'm upset. I'm upset. You made me upset, or what you said upset me. What's the point? Unless you have a solution and an answer, what's the point? Let's say she is this seeking woman. She's a seeking woman. She anger is evil. She watches the JLP show. Then she wouldn't care. Let's say she saw anger. Again, how does she see your heart? How are you seeing people's hearts? But, you could tell, right? You could tell when someone's a little peeved off, and it's not that much of a secret, right? I'm not being ignorant about that. But if she is this secret woman, why would she even ask? Why would she even ask or care? Because she would know, just as you know, that it's an emotion and it's not real. And she would see, that's his own personal thing. I'm not going to judge him on that. Let's get back to the subject matter at hand. Is there an actual issue, or is this just emotion? Right? What good is it doing to anyone when people see your problems and not overcoming them? Right? There's a little bit of a difference, right? There's an honesty in like Joel said, if she sees that you're angry, right? Don't lie. Okay, it sounds like a particular situation, and you could be tough even in saying, I'm mad, and what? It's just an emotion, woman. Let's ignore that. And again, it's supposed to be natural. It's supposed to be like play. It's supposed to be like play. And the only reason you care is because you have something to prove. You want to prove that you're fine. Okay? But again, what good is it for people to see that you're wrestling with something, and because that's because you're wrestling with something that's not real. Do you understand what I'm saying? The most important thing you could do in that moment is just drop it, if you can, because it's not real. What good is it for someone to see you struggle? Okay, that's between you and God anyways. You should push that. You should push that away. You're you're ruining the confidence in those around you and in the people, because they see you believing a lie. Are you mad? Yeah, no. It's just an emotion. Just let's get back to reality. And don't get mad that she's saying that. Then instead be thankful, because it could maybe snap you out of it. You could then realize that you're in something. You see what I'm saying here? I kind of wanted to play more of this video here, but I can just comment on it. Because Stacey says, okay, that she's trying to navigate with Hassan his vulnerability or her problems with it. But why do you have your eyes on someone else? You know it's fake. And that's what I mean by the vulnerability thing. Because it puts a spotlight on the man. And we got to get rid of this spotlight. And men do this too. Especially if they're Jesse thumpers, if they know the truth, they'll hang on every word. When you should be, ignoring a lot of it. Straight up. You should be ignoring, like ignoring when your woman says, you need to be vulnerable and make a space. Oh, what did you just say? I didn't even hear what you just said. My point being that she can't feel like you have a spotlight on her, because now she's thinking about everything she says. It's got to be natural. It's got to be relaxed. We got to get rid of. But the woman has the spotlight on the man when you're describing in detail how vulnerable you should be. Okay. I put a question in the chat for Hassan when he was talking to her. And I had asked, why do you even have buttons that can be pushed in the first place? Again, it's the framework being set by the woman when we should be paying attention to ourselves. Nick's marriage advice, play deaf. Yes! Carver 531, Nick's marriage advice, play deaf. Yes! What did you just say, honey? Oh, did you just say something? Oh, okay. Because it takes away the pressure. Okay? You don't have to have so much pressure. And the same goes for the man, though. We're imposing a pressure on ourselves on being vulnerable and saying, well, you can't see him this way or that way. Like I play around, like I'm dating someone, right? And I play around and I say, oh no, I'm petty. And I have no problem saying that, because I know I don't really care about her opinion, and that I'm not trying to prove anything. I'll play around and say stuff like that. Oh, yeah, I'm mad. And she knows I'm playing. Anyways, I feel like I have way more to say about this. There was a part where Stacey said, and again, I'm not trying to go so hard. She's a nice lady. She's very correct about many things she's saying there. And she's saying, but she was saying, for me, basically, for her to obey and trust the man, there has to be safety first. The safety has to be there first. And so, again, it's the framework is set by the woman. The framework is set by the woman. This is how vulnerable should he be? This is the correct vulnerability. This is the correct way of speaking, and correct way of handling emotions. But it's up to her. My point is just it has nothing to do with ultimately you really don't have to be having any eyes on her at all. You really don't have to have any eyes on her. The attention should be on yourself. Anyways, I feel like I have more to say about that. Maybe Brian here from North Carolina can get the juices flowing here on the conversation here on vulnerability. Brian, North Carolina, you're on the air.
Nick, I don't know, man. I don't know if there's any more juice to squeeze out of this.
Oh, come on.
You said you wanted to.
Oh, come on. I'm begging. I'm begging you, man.
No, okay. But let me just say this first.
Let's rehash things if we have to, because there's some juicy stuff here. Go ahead.
Well, man, you ended the conversation, and the conversation was fragile to begin with because we're talking about men being vulnerable.
Okay. What do you mean?
It should have just stopped right there.
Go on.
You know what I'm saying?
Help me understand what you're thinking.
If you're a man, I don't think. Okay, so I understand what I didn't see the episode with Hassan today.
Okay.
But I remember the episode with Joel because I called in. I had some questions. But
I got some questions, man.
I understood what he was saying about being vulnerable. But a man should not be vulnerable in the same way a woman is vulnerable. A woman tends to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you used the example that he had, like when she says that when she goes, "Are you angry?" Like she sees you're angry, and she goes, "Are you angry?" The response is not to be vulnerable. The response is to, if you're angry, yeah, I'm angry. And what? What are you going to do about it? What's your solution? They don't have it.
And at the same time, internally, not having to prove anything to her and to have an internal view, whoa, here's a person saying, you're angry. Let me examine.
Right.
Let me snap. If I have to snap out, snap out. But that's your own thing. You don't have to prove that to anyone.
Right. And you're not asking for a solution, to actually get one. You're doing it so she can see she doesn't have one. And she should just mind her own business.
Sorry, can you say that again?
When she says, "Are you angry?" and you go, "Yeah," and what? What's the next step? She's not going to have one. And she's not going to have a choice but to look at herself and see that she needs to go about and mind her own business.
Right.
And if she's not, then you need to get that hell up out of your life.
Because if you follow her logical conclusion there, it's just putting the spotlight on you. You're just following her into just focusing on the details of your behavior, which is doing a disservice to her.
Yep,
it's a disservice.
And you're right when you said that. Like, let's just say she is a Jessie thumper or whatever you want to call her, right?
Really truly seeking, whatever.
Right. Let's just say she's really truly seeking, right? Let's just say that.
Show me one. Sorry, go on.
That response of and what? It's going to end right there.
Exactly.
It should end right there. If she is seeking, if she is aware of herself and aware of the truth, then that you wouldn't even be. You won't even. It might come up, but it won't go anywhere because she would know better.
Yeah, well said. Well said, man. She would know.
But you.
It seems very nitpicky to go into like, well, if she's a woman like this is what I wanted to add to the conversation. Thank you. And it's like, it's very nitpicky. Thank you for calling. And don't forget what you're about to say, because or else I'm about to forget what I'm about to say right now.
Okay. Okay. But, sorry. Go ahead.
But it's that it's the framework thing. Okay. It's like, okay, well, if she's like this, then you should be like this, when it really has nothing at all to do with her at all. Are you okay? Are you fine with yourself? And are you fine with looking this way or that way?
Yep, that's very true. That's a good point. If I could say what I was going to say though, because these situations like that will bring you into reflection, right? Let's say you're going through something like this, right? You need to ask yourself, is this a woman that I went out and I picked and I said, this is the one I want, I went after her, or is this the woman that is following me?
Oh, okay.
Because it's a reflection of that. Because if you got that woman, as you said, trying to prove something, right?
Right.
Then you're gonna deal with that down the line. It's gonna show itself, because you're gonna have to keep doing that. And the moment that you stop doing that, she's gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, man.
Right. It's you don't find a quote unquote wife or a woman of God that by looking for them and by picking them. You find them because they see you. You don't have to try to prove who you are. They see you.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They can see you, and they're like, I'm going to follow that.
Right.
Okay. Very simple.
It's like they see their father.
Very simple. Yeah.
Our father.
And anything besides that, literally anything besides that, is the wrong thing, because people ask me, what do you look for in a woman? I don't, and that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy personality in this way, but I care about one thing only, and it's like, and I could really tell, even though we're in just dating and not marriage, you could tell I care about one thing: are you going to obey me?
Yep.
And that literally means like all the way. Like, if we disagree, will you put aside your disagreement and think, you know what, I think I'm right and he's wrong, but I'm going to do what he says anyways? I'm talking like that.
Yeah. But I think a lot of times men miss that. Like, that would be the one thing a man would be looking for, right? But I think when we actually get the women in front of us, that's the thing that men miss, because they start to go into the things that they think they like, and then they end up with the one they don't like. Interesting.
I like what you said. It should be simple for the woman like that. It shouldn't be a question. They see the person. They can see them, and then they're like, I'm following that. It's not really a question.
And the other thing is, man, our mothers have like ruined us so deep when it comes to dealing with women. There's so much to overcome, man. It's just so deep. I think that, I can't even explain. What we think we're supposed to be like in relationships is nothing like we imagine. It's so nothing like we think we know.
Yeah, because it's not also.
It's absolutely nothing. Well, it's just totally not what we've been shown and been told, and it's still being told today. And like, you see the movies and all this other crap, it's all baloney, man. It's a setup.
I think what you're describing, how you're supposed to be, this whole notion of the way you're supposed to be with the woman, again, goes back to what I'm trying to say here, is that the way you're supposed to be, the answer to that has nothing to do with how she feels or thinks. And because if you go with that, then you'll either go with what the world is telling you to be this Romeo, I don't know, simp, or it's this other false macho thing. It has literally nothing to do with her. It's literally has nothing to do with her. It's about you inside. Are you fine with being you?
Yep. It's so amazing.
That's interesting, man. Got the juices flowing here a bit. I had something else to say. Vulnerability.
That word is made up as heck, man.
Yeah, I think we're just using it incorrectly and ascribing wrong things to it.
Yeah. Because
like you can't be vulnerable if you were.
Well, the piece of. I'm sorry.
Like if you were fine with yourself, you weren't trying to prove anything. You were just fine with you. Then you can't really be vulnerable. You can't be.
Right, but
you can't be hurt. You're not trying to prove anything.
But that was the one piece of good that you were saying. Okay, well, I can understand how you see vulnerable. Being vulnerable is good because you want to be able to be. You want people to see you in a sense. Like you don't want to be lying about stuff that people can obviously see. But that's just knowing yourself. That's not a part of vulnerability. When I think of people being vulnerable, I think of me being able to see people naked and they think that they're looking some other type of way.
Right. Interesting, man. Yeah, I like what you said too. There's a difference in vulnerability like a woman does it. It's different.
Oh, totally, man. Because a man, most women, bro, they don't even know that they're vulnerable. A man, if a man's vulnerable, it's in the sense of he knows himself enough to know when he's what he looks like.
You're making me think of something here. I was dating someone, okay, a while ago. And I said something like I had said like a criticism of someone else. And I could see it in that moment in their eyes. They saw like jealousy or something in me when I was criticizing this other person. And they went straight to, it's okay, it'll be your turn soon, or something like that. Babying, right?
Right.
And this is a person who you understand what I'm saying here? I allowed her to treat me like the boy.
Oh my goodness.
Am I making sense here? Because even though it's a good, she's a good one, she's seeking and all that, but I allowed her to treat me like the boy, and she can't help but be mama.
Look at that, man. And look at the idea of it to make it seem like it's about you. It's okay. You'll be there one day.
Right. Instead of that's a disservice to me.
Totally.
Where's the love? You should be right. It's like, well, why are you being jealous, beta? Hopefully, some of this makes sense. But there's some meat here, meat and potatoes here.
You just made me think about how, like, if people were going about things in life the right way, there would never be an argument, man. It would just be moments for laughter at ourselves.
Yeah, man. Well said. Yeah, should be just play. Should be just fun.
Yeah, man. So amazing. All right, I don't want to take up too much
no problem,
more time,
Brian.
man.
Thanks for your call, man.
Right on. Take care, brother.
Take care, Brian. Let's get to Frederick. Let's see if we can make sense of this topic here. We're kind of going off the top here, loosey-goosey. Frederick, California, you're on the air.
What's going on, Nick? How's it going?
What's up? Just fine, man.
Hey, I missed the show, but I had to go back and watch it. But I called Joel last Tuesday and gave him my opinion.
Oh, yeah? What was it?
I told him it was beta is weak. That's some not good stuff.
I heard your call, actually, because I went back and finished it. And I heard your call, and it was good. You know, you guys hashed out the details that everybody was wondering what Joel meant. And mainly, you guys agreed, right? I mean, there's a time and place for certain things. But go on with what you wanted to say.
Right. And women, like if you listen to that lady, Miss Stacy today when she was talking,
yes,
she was like, she was making some points to whereas women pull men's strings and they know if you're mad or not. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And it's about you not communicating on the spot. So you're mad at yourself because you're feeling like,
so true.
I seen it happening and I didn't correct it. And then we get alone and she's like, she already seen your flaw because she's pulling your strings, but you don't want to talk about it. You making it seem like either you're alpha, either you're a simp, or you're a simp that has no feelings, that don't know he's a simp or care about being a simp, or none of that either.
Well, I don't think you have to be any of those. You could just be free. Is that what you're saying? You can just be free,
but
man.
If you're free and she's doing what she's wanting, you don't feel no kind of way about it.
Right.
You're not really free.
Interesting.
You because you don't care what people look at you getting taken advantage, but you're so free. It's like ignorance is bliss, and I wouldn't live like ignorance is bliss. And
Why
that's what
not?
I think Jesse's like, because ignorance is not bliss. You get taken advantage of, and you wouldn't even care if you're getting taken advantage of. And
But
when
if
they
you
leave,
knew,
ride your coattail.
Okay.
They can ride your coattail to the top and say, "Oh, we never worked through it, and
Okay.
therefore I'm leaving you." And you waiting for marriage to have sex with this lady. Never has provided all your time and energy into this investment, and they living and playing you where you get mad and we ain't working through this, so I'm gonna leave you. Thanks for the ride.
I
Either
think I'm
my
following.
way or the highway.
But
You
let's
gonna
say in the
correct this
context of
now?
a marriage or a relationship, would you, if you knew that, that you're fine, that you're not mad or whatever, and she thought that about you, but you knew otherwise, would it matter? Wouldn't ignorance is bliss be perfect here? Let her think what she wants? You don't really mind?
I mean, if you don't care about, you know what I'm saying, the things that you acquired over time, I mean, I guess that's still like being sleepwalking to me. You got to have more women like a person that's in charge of their finances, not going to be taken advantage of.
No, but I'm just talking about...
She said safety over submission. Like, she's going to make sure she's secure before she submits. Is that what that means? What's safety before submission?
That's what I understood. That it's really ultimately, she sets the framework. I know when he's a man.
Yeah. Hey, listen. We got to get back to speaking out, scolding them on the spot, laughing about it, and then act like, yeah, you can go at any time. This is what we're doing. Ain't no whole bunch of vulnerability, and I tell you how I feel. Because I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to be happy. You're going to enjoy this ride, or you can hop off at any time.
Well,
point blank, period.
Yeah, I think I'm following. It's just, my point is simply I'm really just adding to it. It's just, it has your journey, what you have to overcome, what you have to impress upon the world, what you have to teach your woman, your kids. It has nothing to do with them. It has literally just has to do with you.
Yeah,
you can't be
example. You're supposed to be the model. If that woman leaves you today and you get with and they have a stepmother, you're going to teach them a whole different way to learn a different woman, or you're going to remain the stable constant.
Okay, true.
Sometimes things don't work out, but you can't be the one changing for every relationship. You got to want somebody that wants you for who you are and you stand for your principles. Once you start negotiating and listening,
I think
they got girlfriends for that. And men, we have like homeboys that we run stuff by. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't have to talk to the female about everything that goes on in our life. I don't believe that. If the bills get paid, I don't have to be like, I'm short. I'm going to make it happen. She don't even know about the times where the bills almost didn't get paid. You know?
Gotcha. Do you disagree with these? But do you disagree essentially what Joel was saying? I guess if I can distill it, I mean that I guess basically that you can't be like, if you're internally fine, it doesn't matter what you seem like or what you reveal in your face or whatever.
Right.
I think that's what I'm understanding.
With or without her, she got to know that, like, I'm listening to him. He can make me quit my job at any time or do this type, but she has to have the faith that y'all in this 100% together. But if she's just like trying to save her side and save your side at the same time, you'll see it. They'll be like, here, you handle this. Or, you know, you be the shot caller. If not, you're gonna, like Jesse say, I think some women do separate their kids from the father and leapfrog and try to get half, find a good man, divorce them, and it's a lot of that out here. and it's a lot of opportunities for them to leave you over one argument to go somewhere else, because the way they meet you, they know that, okay, he believes this. I'm going to be able to get away with this. I can say I'm a Christian and not have sex. I can say, you know what I'm saying? They'll play the game.
Yeah, I think you're making me think of something. You know, I'm a little unsure. It seems like people say, I hear people say, well, if you behave right and you're the right kind of vulnerable, the right kind of man, then she will be fine. But if she has a judgment against you, I don't think that you can't really change that.
No, you can't.
You can't really change that. You could be walking on water and she has a judgment on you and she won't see that.
Yeah.
It really is, it has nothing to do with her. You can't focus on her at all.
The only judgment she's going to have of you if you change from who you were. You can't go from switching up. You got to stay consistent. So the judgment only comes where she sees something different than what you've been doing, than where she feel like you lured her into this relationship. And now
but you're going to do that, and she's wrong for that.
No, I ain't gonna. Nobody gets lured into a relationship.
No, but you said if the judgment comes when you switch up or something. What did you say?
They start judging you when you're not consistent. Like
right.
If you start being.
But you're gonna do that. You're gonna be inconsistent.
You shouldn't be inconsistent.
But are you gonna be?
Mm-mm.
You're never, ever, 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 ever going to be inconsistent. You're never going to say something inconsistent.
I'm going to say what I mean, and I'm going to mean what I say.
At all.
That's your balls and your words.
I know, but you're kind
of... Not for nobody. But if it don't happen like I thought it was going to happen, yeah, okay.
That's one thing to say, plan. But then there's the details of everyday life, right? The little details in interacting everyday life, right? And you're not going to be consistent.
I'm never.
If she's a judgmental person, she's going to find an inconsistency.
I don't think so. I think you noticed the inconsistency and you put it in your own brain. Like when that girl looked at you when you was hating on dude, you put that in her head, and you
hating on who?
Her saying negative, and you felt that.
Wait, hate what girl?
The girl that you was talking to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you think she felt something like this? I feel like, well, it'll be your time next time. That might just been the best thing she could think of in 15 seconds.
Very
true.
Mean that you're trying Absolutely to true, Frederick.
But you took it into making it about she's having some power. Now,
that's a good point,
in your
man.
mind, you're not okay.
That's a good point, man. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, we just gotta do the best we can and stand on what we stand on. Only we can make ourselves happy. Or mad. You can't let nobody else make you mad. You putting expectations on people and think things gonna be like this, it's never gonna be. You just gotta be you and point them out and tell them this ain't gonna fly. We gotta have this conversation about this miscommunication more than once. I'm out the door. But we can talk about any miscommunication and talk it straight out. I want to know how you feel. All right, I ain't know that. All right, minor adjustment. Roll on, but we ain't gonna keep doing the same thing over and over. That's just my 2 cents, Nick.
Thank you for that, Frederick. Call me again.
All right, no problem.
Okay. Whatever. I give. Whatever. There may have been a little tiny bit of light somewhere in there, but we kind of got lost in the weeds. Let's be real. We got lost in the weeds here. We got lost in the sauce, y'all. That's my opinion. But there's a little bit of something there. Look, you just have to focus on yourself. You just have to be paying attention to yourself. Because then you'll just get lost trying to prove stuff, right? That's really all I was trying to say there. Right? That's all. That's my point, okay? It took us maybe a couple of calls, an hour being late, watching the video, and this past while that we've been streaming to come to distill that that single point. But we got there, right, y'all? We can ignore the rest. Lost has been the theme. Jeez. All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's take this call. Mark, California, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking the call, Nick.
No problem.
I wanted to ask you what your thoughts on what Kamala Harris said in reaction to Governor DeSantis putting in, allowing in the history books in the state of Florida to say that slavery actually benefited the black people. Of course, she's a crackpot, Harris, and she started condemning him and calling it revisionist history. The fact is that probably the greatest thing the white people did for the blacks was bring them here as slaves. They've had a higher standard of living here. They had a higher standard of living as a slave compared to what they would have in most countries in Africa today. So my question to you is, do you agree with Governor DeSantis and his what they're putting in the history books in Florida regarding slavery? I know you don't agree with Harris.
I mean, I didn't quite see. I haven't seen what you're talking about. What are they putting in the textbooks?
That basically slavery wasn't the evil white man enslaving and beating black people. It was basically a way to teach the blacks certain skills, carpentry, farming, and the other skills.
And isn't that... so basically, you're saying DeSantis wants to teach that in school, that slavery wasn't... that there were some people that benefited from slavery, I guess.
Yes. Actually, the entire black race benefited from slavery. By bringing them here, again, they had a higher standard of living, even as slaves, than what the average black has in Africa today.
They were introduced to Jesus.
Yes.
No, I see what you're saying. I don't agree with Kamala at all. It sounds like they've lied about slavery plenty, and to think that no slave benefited from slavery, I think it might be kind of a silly position when I believe I heard even Hake say that he learned this in school when he was growing up, that there were good and bad slaves. And that's just clear. If you just do a little bit of your homework, you'll see that is true. But that's just true when you think of it logically, right? It wasn't like every slave was this mistreated person, right? They were, working.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why any slave would have been mistreated. I suppose you may have some sadistic slave owners, but I think the ones that they focus on are the blacks that came over and tried to rape the white women and commit the crimes that they're doing all over the country today. The few that were involved in that stuff may have been lynched or whipped or put back in place. But overall, and I think most honest blacks would agree, slavery overall for the Negro was a benefit and not a bad thing. They got none of them left to go back when slavery ended. They chose to stay. So it couldn't have been that bad under segregation either. Slavery and segregation aren't the evils that they want to put a guilt trip on white people about. And you mentioned Christianity. When the Christian missionaries went to Africa to try to convert them, from worshiping stones and idols to worshiping Jesus, they were cooked in a pot and eaten. They were cannibals. They were eaten they were eaten by the cannibals. So when they were here as a minority and they were introduced to Christianity, it seemed to, help them somewhat. I know that some of these black Christian ministers are full of crap, but there are some good ones. And again, I think overall slavery was a benefit.
It sounds like a benefit to me.
Pardon me?
It sounds like a benefit to me.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's a fair statement to say that the blacks were actually benefited in retrospect from slavery? had they not been brought here as slaves, they'd still be in the jungles eating each other. Now, you have to remember, they've only been out of Africa, out of the jungle, for about 400 years. The white race has developed over 10,000 years of evolution, and for us to hand over the country to them would be suicide. They can't maintain a civilization, and they haven't created one. Arnold Toynbee, remember that name, Arnold Toynbee? Okay, he was the greatest historian in world history, and he said it in, I don't know if these numbers are 100%, but he mentioned that roughly 15 civilizations were created by the white race. The Asians created 2 or 3 civilizations, and to this date, the blacks have never created a single civilization on Earth. So I think that needs to be, brought up and discussed. I think that we're headed to suicide. Whites are only 60% of the country's population now. 60 years ago, in the early 60s, we were like almost 90%. We've lost almost a third of our race in less than a century. Can you imagine what this country will look like in 100 years if current trends continue at the border and with what's going on in this country, the race mixing, the
it's
abortion?
a shame, man. It is a shame, but I mean, I don't disagree with the statement that blacks benefited from slavery. I'm sure many did at the time. Their progeny after being in America absolutely is a benefit, you could say. I don't disagree, man. I don't disagree.
So you would disagree with VP Harris, then?
Correct. I haven't seen what she said, though. So from what you described, I disagree. I have the clip here. In fact, we'll probably watch it after your call here. But if from what you describe, I don't agree with her. But I don't know what she said. Well, I haven't seen the clip. I haven't seen anything.
My question would be: I know you haven't seen her express her opinion on this, but it's pretty much what I've told you. What is her motivation to say these things? Is it to start a race war?
Well,
it's to make the blacks hate the whites?
To justify. You have to have this. You have to have this moral framework to justify a lot of things that's going on. Okay, it's a false moral framework, but that's how they justify the anger of the blacks, minorities, by telling them that you have to lie to them and tell them that it was particularly evil what happened to them, that it was that they're still affected by that today. And you got to basically lie to them to continue the division and continue the control.
Well, the comeback on that would be very easy. If slavery was such a bad institution when it ended in 1865, why didn't they mass exit it back to their native homeland? Why did they stay?
Yeah,
if slavery was so bad, why did they stay? That would be the question I'd ask.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a fair statement.
It's a cudgel that they can use to put a guilt trip, on the white man. And they're doing it all the time, and it's just scary. I mean, it's really scary to me. These younger generations of blacks that are growing up, especially in the big cities, they're being told to hate the white man, not only by their own parents in many cases, but by the schools, by the indoctrination. Critical race theory is hate whitey.
Do you think there used to be black maintainers of society?
I would say, when you go back in history...
in America.
In America.
Yeah, sure, history as well.
History. No, I would say that there were blacks who were good and helped, to build a better country. Obviously, they fought in our wars, and there's a lot of good blacks that have come through in America. But in today's society, especially since George Floyd, it's just hate whitey. I mean, it's really getting bad. If you look at the clips, like Scott Adams, I believe his name was talking about, just look at short clips on Facebook, and occasionally it'll show black on white crime, and it's ugly, and it's out there, and the main media doesn't want us to know this. But I think Scott Adams was right on.
Okay, yeah, like separating?
Well, yeah, he basically, Scott Adams said that just stay away from them. Just stay away. I mean, you're going to be safer that way. So, and I try to do that. It's hard to, but you can do it if you try, I guess. But it's really scary. And with what's going on at the border, let me ask you this, Nick. What will America look like in 100 years from now if current trends continue?
It'll look like the breakup of Yugoslavia.
I'd say it would be even worse than that. I think it'll be roving tribes of minorities. Probably the white race will be a small minority in 100 years.
Oh, you say Mad Max? We're going to go full Mad Max in America?
Well, I haven't seen that movie in over 40 years. I forgot what that was with, what's his name?
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mel Gibson's a good patriot, by the way. He's very pro-Trump, and he's really good on the issues. I've met the man. He's a good guy. And, of course, he was vilified by the media. He was rich enough to sustain his career, but most of us couldn't do that. Oh, did you hear about this guy in San Diego? He worked for the gas company, and he cracked his knuckles.
Is this something else? Is this like a news story?
Well, this is a different issue. No, I'm jumping issues, yeah. But I just wondered if you had heard about this guy. He worked for the gas company, and he was in one of the gas company vans, and he cracked his knuckles, outside the van as he was driving. Somebody snapped a picture of it and said that was a white power symbol. They turned it over to the gas
this
company.
was in 2020.
Guy. I guess it's a couple of years old. I just found out about it.
Okay.
But
San Diego.
I mean, the guy. No, yeah, he got fired.
But as long as there is a I guess you could say industry almost in race hoax and race baiting, because white people and people in general, they have buttons that can be pushed. They can't see that they can't see that when they put out a news story of this guy and he just did his gesture, that they want people to overreact and get all crazy about that.
Yeah, and the guy lost his job. I mean,
there's
the
a
guy
market
suffered.
for it. There's a market for the outrage. You see what I'm saying here?
Well, that would be Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson who made the money.
But also
and
the
Black
people,
Lives
but
Matter.
also the people afraid, also the people overreacting to Al Sharpton and the race hustlers. They are part of the market as well.
Yeah, it's really scary when you think about what the future is. I mean, I don't see a way out of this. I mean, even if Trump wins, and I pray that he does, I don't see how he's going to reverse it. How are you going to get the millions of illegals, invaders that have been brought in just the last couple of years? It's almost going to take like a civil war of militias that are pro-American to round these people up and get them the heck out of here. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what needs to happen. Oh, here's something you might not know about.
What needs to happen?
I think what will happen, I mean, with all the millions of these invaders that have, broke into our country, it may take militias of patriotic Americans to round these criminals up and deport them. Or help the ICE
and I'm
people.
pro that.
Yeah,
I say, big time. Let's deport these people, retroactively remove a whole bunch of these citizenships, birthright citizenships. Honestly, but let's say this, because let's remember that it's your own neighbors, your own white neighbors who are agreeing with a lot of this. What if like you're saying, what needs to happen is we need to take up arms, militia. And what I'm about to say, I don't want to happen. I don't want to see the end of America. But let's say when everyone around you is crazy, your own neighbors want the destruction of America. Should you do anything about that? Like, I guess what I'm trying to express here is there space for you, Mark, in being okay? Which is a crazy statement, but is there space inside of you with being okay with the downfall of America?
Well, it depends on what's going to come after.
Okay, fair enough.
If they take over, we're finished. I mean, there's no country in the
But do
history
you
of the
know
world.
that when you say we're finished, you mean like white people?
Yeah. There's no country, I mean, there's no society in the history of the world that has ever been dominated by blacks, any democratic with a small d, ever, shown to be workable. Not in world history, nowhere. And that's what's scary. Here's something else, Nick, and I don't mean to be jumping
no
around.
No problem,
here,
Mark. Here, last thing, and then I'll have to move on here.
Yeah, this is something you should know. I saw on TV today Curtis Sliwa, the guardian angel guy that ran for mayor of New York. He was on one of the shows today saying that in New York, where they're flooded with illegal aliens, they're attacking Negroes. They're attacking black people on the street. And they killed one, I think it was yesterday, a homeless black guy that was sleeping on the bench. And they're riding around on those little mini bikes or whatever they are, those little electric bikes like mini Hell's Angels. And they're just going around terrorizing the homeless. Now, I'm not, crazy about homeless, but they are Americans and they do have a right to be here. But yet they're given hotel rooms, full luxury meals, everything on the taxpayer dime, and now they have the unmitigated brazen gall to attack homeless people. I don't care if they're black or white, but it seems like they're picking on the blacks, according to what Sliwa said. And what's his name? The mayor there, Adams, he won because of the black vote. And yet his own people are being attacked by the illegal aliens who have no business being in New York or anywhere else.
Exactly. They're in this, and so screw them.
Well, screw who? The illegals?
Let them all die. They voted for it, like you said, right?
Well, the black people voted for Mayor Adams, who's a radical,
right,
and a white hater, and he's the one that brought all these. Well, they were shipped to his city.
There's no saving them. Is my point. You see what I'm saying?
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
There's no saving them. There's no saving them.
No.
So
but I think Adams.
Your attention, your calling to attention to it is fine, and that's no problem. That's an interesting story. But also, what interests me is like, you can't save these people.
Well, no, but I don't want to go down with them. See, if they go down, we all go down, and that's what scares me. It really does. Do you mind? And if you don't want me to do it, I won't. But is it against the rules to mention a book?
Yes.
To read, or is that not? You don't want
just
me to do it?
send it to me, Mark. Email me about that.
Okay, I will.
It's just because I spent already too much time with you, Mark. That's all.
Okay, I appreciate your time. God bless you, Nick.
No problem. Email me that stuff. I might check it out. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Moving the wheels. All right, y'all. Okay. Shall we play this? Might as well for posterity. Shall we play this? Why not?
Adults know what slavery really involved. It involved rape. It involved torture. It involved taking a baby from their mother.
Oh, my God.
In the context
rape, that's one thing, but taking a baby from their mother?
Of that, how is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities, that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization?
We gave you Christ.
In the midst of these atrocities, that there was some benefit. Adults know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's illogical. You have to, if there were, it's just a logical conclusion. If there were good slave owners, you say, well, no, slavery is just wrong. Slavery is just wrong. There can't be a benefit. It's just slavery is wrong at all times. So there's no way it can be. But look, you got to think logically here. If there is such a thing as a good slave owner who treated the slave correct and taught them things. Isn't that by definition a benefit from slavery? Let's say you could even take a person and they were in their country and in their social status and all that, and now they're enslaved, but they got meals, they got skills, they're working. Isn't that by definition a benefit of slavery? It lacks logic here, what Kamala Harris is saying. Right, y'all? It just lacks a little logic. Plus the slave owners gave them Christ. Should be thankful. All right, guys. That's pretty much the show. Hit me, join me tomorrow. More American Anchor Baby, guest hosting JLP show and all this and that and more. Follow me here, Rumble. Also on Rumble, rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Gorgonzola on Twitter. More American Anchor Baby tomorrow. Appreciate you being here. What can I say? What are you guys saying here in the chat? Make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything here. Great stuff. All right, y'all. So thanks again. Catch you guys tomorrow. Yeah, that's right, Lord Bibby. Today has been wild, huh? Well, thank you. And thanks everybody else. Take care. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.